Which Full House cast member was the best at basketball?
How could a full house win you $5 million?
Where was the show filmed topsy-turvy?
And whatever happened to predictability? You know, like in the lyrics of the song?
Like the postman or the paperboy.
Every step you take.
Alright, hello everyone, welcome back to Everything You Didn't Need to Know About. Today we are talking everything you didn't need to know about the greatest 90s TV show. Friends might be angry about that. We are talking about Full House! Yay! Of course, we will be giving you our favourite facts that we found out this week about the wonderful show that is Full House. And at the end of the show, a winner will be crowned. Will it be Thom Adams? Will it be Jen Jewell? Will it be Nathan Kenny? Will it be me, Sam Smith? Will it be all of us? Will it be none of us? We shall see. What a great show, you guys. Hey, did you used to watch it, Full House, back in the day?
I remember watching, because it was always on at like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And so, once the cartoons had finished, either that was Sister.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Sister.
Yeah, in New Zealand, we got a bunch of just American shows that played all the time. And those are sort of the shows that became the shows of our childhood. And we probably got them like a couple of years later, I presume.
I realised though, looking into this, I had misremembered a bunch of stuff. I thought that Jesse was Danny's brother, and he's actually Danny's dead ex-wife's brother. And Joey's just some random mate. He's not related to them at all.
No, that's the wrong way around.
Joey is the random mate, and Jesse is the... It's super weird. Just like,
No, Jen, you said the same thing again.
I hear you.
Danny has 3 kids and a wife. The wife's brother is Uncle Joey. Dave Coulier. He's my favorite character in the whole thing. Yep. Who used to date Alanis Morissette. Then Bob Saget's wife dies. Her brother moves in with Danny and the 3 girls. Yep. And then random Greek guy John Stamos comes along and lives with them as well.
When I read it, I thought that Jesse was the ex-wife's brother. And I was very confused about that.
The doctor was the
None
mother.
of the kids look Greek.
Have you come across uncles before?
Yeah, but there's Uncle Jesse and Uncle Joey, and one of them is the legitimate blood uncle, and one of them is just random guy my dad likes.
His first name is Uncle, though. That's the thing. He's Uncle Joey.
And then
Uncle Jesse was going to be Uncle Adam.
Oh, I can see why you remembered that, Thom Adams.
Hey. But he has to change it because he thought Jesse was cooler, and Jesse was also Elvis's little brother's first name, I think. So
I didn't know
he
that.
also
That's cool.
got his last name changed in the second series. They officially made him. It's a Greek last name. Can't remember what it is.
Probably Stamatopoulos. Shout out to all our Greek listeners.
They just introduced that in the second series. They're like, oh, by the way, this guy's Greek.
I love how the show ran from 87 until 95. Yet in my mind, it was way longer than that. That's only 8 years of watching. Yeah. Like when you watch the first season, Jodie Sweetin is a 5-year-old. That's so young, and the Olsen twins were actually babies, like full blown, not even 1 yet babies.
They were so small that the reason they cast twins is to get around labor laws.
It's funny
because you can only work small children for so many hours a day, and the show is like, but what if there were 2 children?
Well, they say there were twins. Maybe they started off with quadruplets, and it's just you expect a little bit of there's a little bit of attrition. Like
they didn't want people to know that they were twins, so they listed them as Mary Kate Ashley Olsen in the credits, so they weren't listed as 2 people playing one character.
And did you hear what happened in season 6? They decided these twins, because they're not identical twins, they're fraternal twins. The twins were starting to look too different from each other. So they said, hey, let's get rid of Ashley because Mary Kate's the funny one. And John Stamos was like, you can't get rid of one of them. You've got to keep both of them. They're sisters. This is awful if you did that, which is interesting because in the first season, John Stamos also tried to get the Olsen twins fired because they would cry all the time and they really annoyed him. So he had a complete, actually had a character growth throughout himself throughout the show, which is lovely.
Aww. Apparently he also used to get really cross with them because he'd get told off for, as obviously John Stamos had a notoriously foul mouth, and he would get in trouble for swearing in front of especially the Olsen twins, and he got really grumpy about it and was like, well, they shouldn't be on the show and show business if they're not prepared to listen to people talk about awful, terrible things.
Yeah.
Speaking of people who talked about awful, terrible things, Bob Saget.
Oh my God.
One of the filthiest comics I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I assume all of us have seen The Aristocrats.
The Aristocrats.
That's the Disney one with the animated cats, right? I didn't realize Bob
Yeah.
Saget was in there. That's cool.
Yeah, he's the Siamese
filthy.
one that they had to cut because of racism.
Jen, we can't say Siamese.
It's in the song.
Oh, it's still
Aye.
racist, though.
The Thai cat.
Thai cats.
Yeah, so long as you don't impugn the Thai king, I think you can get away with a lot, right? you guys heard about this. You can't say anything mean about the royal family when you're in Thailand, and you can't even put money in your shoe because it has a picture of the king on the shoe.
When I'm trying to insult someone, I definitely put money in my shoe. Screw that. Screw you.
This is really awkward.
Sir Edmund Hillary.
I went to Thailand as a 13-year-old and I filled my shoes with coins. I was just jangling non-stop, walking everywhere.
So something I looked up this week, guys, is that I looked up what did happen to predictability, because that's an iconic line that lives forever. Interestingly, I also found out that the singer of the theme song for Full House also sang the theme song for Step by Step, Perfect Strangers, and Family Matters, which, if you don't know,
So they had a genre.
they're like the John Williams of family sitcoms in the 80s/90s. So yeah, I looked up on Google Trends about the word predictability, and it was about 1910 when the word predictability came into usage, and it shot up. It got way heaps popular. It was going great, going gangbusters, heading on up. We got to about 1987 when Full House started, and then we got to 95 when it finished, and then suddenly the word predictability, starts to taper off a bit. It peaked in 2004, and then since then, boom, we've been plummeting back down again. Predictability was killed by the show Full House, or second theory, it's been overtaken by a new word, unprecedented. I think we've replaced predictability with unprecedented ability.
Predictability would be the opposite of unprecedentedness. Precedentedness.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why it's getting replaced.
So what happened in 2004?
That was just the peak of its usage.
Is that the Iraq War?
I was going to say we can predict that Bush number 2 won't be re-elected, and then that went out of the water, and just everything followed thereafter.
And another thing that I love about John Stamos, didn't list one before, but this is the thing I love about him. He owns the original sign for Disneyland. He's got the whole thing in his backyard. When you're driving through LA, you can just see the D. Funny. When you're driving through, you just see this big Disney D hanging out in the sky. And lots of people online are like, what is that? Where's that come from? That's John Stamos's house. He's got the full sign back there. He won it in an auction. He beat Michael Jackson for it, which is pretty good.
He beat it. He bet it.
That would be the best pickup line ever, though. Like, hey, do you want to come back to my house and see the big D?
Do you want to see my
No,
massive
I have the
D?
Disneyland sign in my back garden.
You load the kids in the back of the car. You go for a big long drive. You don't tell them because you want it to be a surprise. And then they just see it peeking out, this big sign.
No.
Oh, Dad, we're not going to John Stamos.
Sam, they're going back to the whatever happened to predictability of the song, and how you're saying that they made like a whole bunch of other theme songs. There's like quite a few, obviously a lot of the actors went on to be quite famous and do quite a lot of cool stuff, including, and here's my one, in season 3 where they get a dog called Comet.
Mm-hmm.
And Comet the dog is a gorgeous golden retriever who they have through the entire season, and he's great. Comet was also Air Bud.
Exactly.
Stop.
There's nothing in the rulebook that says that the Full House dog cannot be Air Bud.
Did you know where the dog is called Buddy? Do you know where he got his first TV appearance?
Was it the David Letterman show?
No, there was before that. So he was actually on an episode of America's Funniest Home Videos,
Yes.
which was hosted by Bob Saget.
So did Bob Saget spot him on America's Home Videos and headhunt him for the
I
other
must have that dog.
Potentially.
Bella DeVille way.
Or I think they were just both on ABC, so like just whoever was there noticed it on one show and was like, I'll put those on this other show as well. Buddy the dog was a stray who was found out wandering in the desert in Nevada somewhere. The guy took him home, taught him these tricks, put them on America's Funniest Home Videos. From that, he then got the role on Full House, and from that, and on Letterman. Then from that, they got him on Air Bud, then Air Bud 2,
when you said he was wandering the deserts of Nevada, I just imagined him like in a montage, kind of pacing through these dusty streets and then occasionally stopping to just shoot a 3-pointer and then just add on with sad music in the background.
I imagine him like after a big night out in Las Vegas and then just wandering home with his shoes in his hand.
I would have gone for on a soul journey. Just I should not have had all that peyote. Like Jesus Christ, where am I?
Talking to
and then Bob Saget.
voiced by Johnny Cash.
Oh, that's great. That's funny.
But speaking of Comet, the show obviously is iconically set in San Francisco. There's all the shots in the opening montage of, iconic San Francisco landmarks. The only episode that was shot in San Francisco was the episode where they introduced Comet because they had to do so much outside stuff. And everything else was shot pretty much on a soundstage in Los Angeles. But I was looking at because there's the famous shot of the Painted Ladies, which is opposite a big park, which I've been to in San Francisco. And I just went there because it was a nice big park and it's pretty. And then there were all these people taking pictures of the houses. And I was like, there are so many pretty houses around San Francisco. Why are these special? Yeah. And I literally Googled, like, why are these houses special? And it was like, they're in the opening credits of Full House.
Yeah.
Like, oh, cool.
Interestingly, the house from Full House is actually a different house that's on Broderick Street or Road. I used to live on Broderick Road in Wellington. There's a fact. And the guy who created what show are we talking about? Full House. Full House. he bought that house at auction. He now owns the house that was the external shots from.
It was bought more recently than that. I think he must have sold it. And this is what costs you $5 million to get a full house. So you walked into my web, Sam Smith. If you want the house that only ever featured in external shots of Full House and was never used for any interior filming, 4-bedroom, I think it's 4-bathroom.
No, it's only 3-bedroom. 3-bedroom, 4-bathroom.
Okay. Reasonably dilapidated. $5 million will get you the Full House external features if you'd like to clip in.
When was this? Because I feel like the guy, his name's Jeff Franklin, who created it. I feel like this was just really recent.
He bought it in 2014 and he wanted to turn it into a kind of museum. He wanted to recreate the interior of the Full House set and have walkthroughs. But the neighbors were not keen on this. They vetoed it. In 2018, they also stopped tourist buses driving down Broderick Street because they were so grumpy about the congestion. And so he renovated it and it looks really nice now. It looks really kind of modern and swish. But it's only 3 bedrooms. So I don't know how you would renovate it to make it look like a house that comfortably housed 3 adults, 5 children at various points. I don't know how you would do that magic inside.
Have you guys seen a show called A Very Brady Renovation?
No.
Oh my gosh, guys. Once we've done this, we're definitely going to go watch it. It's the best show I've ever seen in my life. They bought the house that was the external shots for the Brady Bunch. And then they got all the Brady kids to renovate that house to look like all the sets that they filmed the show in. It's incredible. They had to build an entire massive back part of the house to it. They had to put the attic down in the basement. They had to move things around. It's a 3-part series. It's absolutely incredible. And the lady who played Marsha, her birthday's the same day as mine.
Birthday twins. So what did they do with the house afterwards? Did they turn it into a Brady museum or sell it or give it to Habitat for Humanity?
So the network still owns the house, and I think the idea was to turn it into a museum that you go and see. Unlike the Outrageous Fortune House here in New Zealand, which was really popular, and so they've torn it down and making it into 6 new townhouses or something like that.
New Zealand's equivalent to Full House.
Yeah.
In fairness, West Auckland does have a density problem. So,
speaking of, speaking of potential criminals in West Auckland.
Tenuous.
This is real tenuous. This is, every time I look up, actors on Full House, and there's the main cast. There's also Laurie Loughlin, who, started dating John Stamos, Uncle Jesse, and then they got together and then had kids. And is now, as opposed to Comet, who became Air Bud, she has gone to jail. Doing great.
What? I didn't know this.
Oh, guys, Laurie Loughlin. So there was a big scandal with bribery and trying to get people
she's
into
the college admissions. Friend Felicity Huffman.
She went to jail for bribing to get her kids into college.
Wasn't it not just bribing? It was also like other people took their entrance tests for them or something.
Yeah, she was a shotter guy, I think.
Let's just chuck a few more things in there. Go on.
Yeah.
Americans aren't litigious.
Wow.
This will be fine.
You stole the Golden Gate Bridge.
I always thought it was funny that Felicity Huffman got sent to jail, but her husband is William H. Macy, and nothing
He
happened to him.
He would have gone to sentencing and he would have looked really sad. We can't send him to jail.
We can't send this elderly man to jail.
Look at him. He's
Speaking of real life implications for cast members, did you know that Bob Saget was nearly not in Full House?
Oh, yes.
So
Yeah.
they wanted him for the role of Danny, like as soon as they came up with the concept, but he wasn't available to shoot the pilot, so they got someone else to do the pilot, and then the series got picked up and Bob Saget was like, oh, by the way, I'm free again, and they were like, okay, cool, bye, and just like ditched this other guy who I feel a bit sad for.
The guy's name was John Posey. He went on to be in Seinfeld, though. That's all right.
But the reason Bob Saget was unavailable is because he was hosting he was involved in a morning news program. And in season 2 of Full House, his character goes from being a sports journalist to hosting a morning news program.
Whoa.
Wow.
which I thought was quite cool.
Amazing. It's like the writers of that show just took real life and then put it on the
Well, they were
screens.
just bored and they were like, let's just do that.
Yeah.
Where is America's Funniest Home Videos in that trajectory?
America's Home Videos is really popular, though. It's gone for like decades.
In the last week, my 6-year-old has discovered it and has watched it all day, every day since. So
Look at this man getting hit in the groin. This comedy gold. Over and over again.
football in the groin, football in the groin.
Oh, geez, how could I get hit by a football on the groin? They realized how many episodes there were. There were 8 seasons and like 192 episodes. It's at one point they started adding cast members like Comet and 2 other twins.
Actual twins.
Yeah.
Actual twins. Yeah.
So if Comet had a twin, would it have been Cupid or what? They've
Are
just
Comet and
ignored-
Cupid the reindeer twins?
Yes, I believe
Well, they're
so.
the pair. They work with each other.
So are Dasher and Dancer twins?
Or are they dating? Is it like that? Like they're yeah.
Well, you know that all the reindeer are female, right?
What?
I
Even
do.
Rudolph?
Yeah. Because
Jen,
in
I do.
December, female reindeers are the only ones with their antlers left because the males have shed their antlers. So the males have naked heads and the females are sitting there proud with their antlers out. So I mean,
Interesting.
all of the reindeer with antlers that you see pulling Santa's sleigh must be female.
It's
Or
cold,
genetically
okay?
engineered. We know Full House ran for 8 series. You know, there was that sequel, Fuller House, which was basically Full House Redux. It ran 5 series.
What?
Yeah,
It's-
I feel like I heard a lot about it when it came out, and then it disappeared completely from my cultural awareness. But yeah, it finished in 2020.
So if there's a full house and a fuller house, it sort of implies the existence of a full list house, right?
I saw an interview with Jeff Franklin who said that, in about 20 years, they're going to do a fullest house, presumably with zombie Bob Saget, which will be quite cool.
Just see
Or
how
just
many
him as a
people can
reanimated head a la Futurama.
That'd be
just one
cool.
of those clown cars. Just how many people can we get in a house?
Well, it's already a 3-bedroom house with 8 people living in it, so I feel
Get
like
those-
we're already halfway there.
Get those Japanese policemen with the gloves that push people into trains.
Oh, yeah.
There's space up there. Up in the attic. Yeah.
Did you guys, I'm speaking about Bob Saget, did you know in real life he has 3 daughters as well? 3 daughtins on the show, 3 daughters in real life. I'm just starting to think they've just copied real life for this show.
What's also really weird is that the youngest is he actually has 4 kids, but the youngest is twins, but you only see one at a time.
They swap out.
Yeah.
Yep.
I set that out. Did he have those kids at the time that he was on Full House? Because if I was Bob Saget's daughter and he was in a show about him having 3 daughters, I'd be a bit salty that I wasn't asked to be his daughter.
Why wasn't I
Do
cast?
you want to at least audition? Like, nah, I'm good.
I worked on a show called Jono and Ben, and they had a sketch where they needed a dentist in it. Literally that. At the time, I was working half the time as a dentist and half the time as writing on this show, and they did not cast me in it, and I was
Not
furious.
Not credible. So you hit
What?
them with some chloroform.
Kenny, if your dentist is doing that to you, they are probably a cheap dentist. Smart move. Well done.
In fact, chloroform was very rarely used in kidnapping or abduction attempts because
It doesn't
it's actually
work.
really difficult to drug people with chloroform.
Yeah,
it takes
you
like
have to
5
do-
or 10 minutes for it to take effect.
Yeah. And
And
even then,
it'll
it's
be
quite a
very
mild
common.
effect.
Yeah, it's much easier just to get people drunk and then drop some opium in their drink.
About it.
Sorry, I thought we were talking about Full House and not the Cosby Show.
No, this is oh god. Like I said, this is why Jen has like 7 extra kidneys.
Yeah, don't eat pies if you go to Jen's house.
Look, all I'm
The
saying is
worst
I
pies
didn't get
in
to be the
Wellington.
number 1 recruiter for Her Majesty's Navy 7 years straight by playing fair.
Because Full House was a while ago. Does anyone have a Full House episode that they still can't still think about every now and then? Because I have one, which is always about the oldest one, DJ, learning to drive, and how like Danny was always like really, really uptight, and Jesse was way too lax, and other one is
Joey.
like Joey is just won't shut up, and so it's like none of them work, and so the solution is that they all sit in the car while she drives.
Oh, that's nice.
My overwhelming memory of American TV growing up was that the episodes were never in order. So whenever they had a 2-parter, you'd be like, well, I guess I'll never know what happened.
Well, the confusion of like they'd play the Christmas special right after the Easter episode
Yeah.
and before the Halloween special. You'd
Yeah.
be like, I know that the seasons are different over there, but is time different as well?
Sorry, guys. Back to the driving episode.
Yeah.
There's actually an extra part of that is that because you know how the mum died in Full House.
Wait, spoilers.
From yeah, she died at the start.
Literally in the pilot.
But before episode 1.
You actually see it. That's the horrible part. You see it. That's
Really graphic.
It's a drunk driver. A drunk driver kills her. So probably that
wow.
episode, now that I think about it, had a lot more emotional meaning to it.
That's
Supposed
probably
to
why
just
you
read-
don't drink drive anymore, Tom.
It's one of the reasons.
Yeah, you were terrible for that when you were 5 or 6, and then
Of
then
course,
you
I
hit
do.
puberty and it's just gone right downhill.
Yeah. Of course, I do watch episodes of Full House while driving, so that might be a problem.
But speaking of its lasting appeal, I just wanted to crowbar in the fact that they licensed it to a Russian TV station for adaptation, and it was called Topsy Turvy House,
Oh,
and it ran for all of 2 seasons. Resounding success.
Hello, I am Denny Tinner.
Denny Tilovich.
This is the Full House. You do not have anything.
In the Russian version, Danny Tanner's brother-in-law had still slept with Alanis Morissette. They kept that plot line, which was pretty cool.
What? What?
We can't
Because
You
that
know,
wasn't in Full House. What?
Well, you know,
And
David Coulier is one of 6 people who have admitted to being the man Alanis Morissette writes about in the song "You Ought to Know."
Yeah.
The very, very angry song. He now takes it back, by the way. I just want to clarify that. He now says he was joking when he said it was about him. But I just
Well,
like the
that's
fact that
nice,
6
yeah.
people have been like,
Cut
oh,
it
that
out.
massive douchebag in that song. That was me. Oh, that was me. That was me.
Full House actually started before the fall of the Berlin Wall, right? Like a good 4 years. So yeah,
I'm really
I mean,
looking forward to see how that you tie this
But-
together, Kenny.
well, no, I was just like in communist Russia, having lots of families live together in a small habitation. It was probably just like, well, this is normal. Like, I'm sorry, guys.
We call this normal house.
We cannot get blue jeans, and you have to line up for potato. But it is a nice
all the
house.
children.
It's
All the
it's
children in here
interesting
are
you say
tenors.
that, though, because I was looking into other TV shows and things called Full House. And apart from being the 1991 album by John Farnham, which features the iconic You're the Voice, there's a
Amazing.
bunch of other TV shows, all independently created, that are called Full House, that have the concept of multiple family units moving in together, but they're all for economic reasons. The American Full House is the only one where it's a social reason, which I
Oh.
find really interesting. There's an English one, there's a South Korean one. There were a whole bunch of them, and there's even a film from the 1930s, which the premise is a couple buy a house, they can't afford it, they get their mate and his girlfriend to move in with them.
It used to be, the show was going to be called House of Comics. And it was going, the idea was that 3 comedians lived together in a house.
Maybe
I
that's why they
knew
wanted
that,
it to be
mate.
more American dreamy. So they were like, let's have them have actual jobs.
Yeah. Did you know they were thinking of remaking Full House with Steve Carell as Danny Tanner, James Franco as Uncle Jesse, and Tracy Morgan as Uncle Joey?
That is 3 very different kinds of comedy.
Yes, it is.
Three men living together in San Francisco is also the
Raising children together.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, there's a good moral story there, but it's in the 1980s. It probably wasn't the first thing to come to telly execs' minds. Oh, no. This is wholesome.
Yeah.
No, they're all related.
We'll call it the Aristocrats. If you don't get that, go and watch the Aristocrats. It's wonderful.
If you're under 18, don't go and watch the
Don't watch it.
Aristocrats.
Yeah,
please.
yeah. Do
Local-
not
local
absolutely
age
promise
laws
us
apply.
that you will not. Well, on that cheery note, we should probably wrap up. We've had a wonderful time talking about Full House. Let's quickly go back around and tell everyone our facts. I very kindly reminded you what happened to Predictability. Full House ruined it.
So I noted that the Full House house, or at least the facade of it, sold for $5 million a couple of years ago.
I pointed out that in Russia, Full House is topsy-turvy.
And my fact was that Comet the dog from season 3 was also Air Bud.
For wonderful facts, let us vote for our favourite fact. So on 3 points to the person you think had the best fact of the day. And a 1, and a 2, and a 3. Jen, you got it! Congratulations! You are the fullest house member of our Full House.
Well, I just want to say that my house of my heart is full of joy to be able to do this wonderful thing with these wonderful people. But we also want to hear from you guys who are listening to us and watching us. So tell us your favourite fact about Full House or San Francisco in the 1990s or Bob Saget's illustrious career. If you have enjoyed this, you can listen to our previous episodes on YouTube, Spotify, or other podcast platforms. So please give us a like, tell your friends about us, subscribe, put down in the comments what you'd like to hear us rabbit on about. And come back next week when we'll be talking about